Let me ask you something powerful. Have you ever met a man who seemed completely taken by you, calling, texting, wanting your attention, and then suddenly he just pulled away? One minute you're all he thinks about, and the next, it's like you don't even exist. It's not because you weren't enough. It's because emotional connection isn't built by effort. It's built by psychological triggers. See, when you understand how to activate the 4 emotional buttons hidden inside every man's mind, you don't have to chase, beg, or prove your worth. Instead, he feels something deeper, a kind of emotional pull he can't logically explain. He starts craving your energy, not just your presence. He starts missing you even in silence. And no matter what distractions life throws at him, there's this invisible bond, a magnetic connection, pulling him back to you. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what those 4 buttons are and how to use them with authenticity, integrity, and confidence. Because when you press these buttons the right way, you don't just make a man fall for you, you make him emotionally addicted to the feeling of being near you. So if you've ever wanted to be the woman he can't forget, the one who stays in his mind long after the first date, the one he compares everyone else to, then stay right here. Because in the next few minutes, you're going to unlock the psychological blueprint that makes emotional attraction permanent. You know what truly makes a man fall? Not just for your looks, your smile, or your presence, but for your essence. It's not perfection. It's vulnerability, but not the kind you might be thinking of. This isn't about oversharing, breaking down, or appearing weak. This is about reflecting back his hidden emotions, the ones he never shows anyone else. See, every man wears emotional armor. From a young age, he's taught to be strong, to never cry, to hide his insecurities behind confidence and control. But beneath that armor, there's a version of him that's aching to be seen, not as the man who has it all together, but as the man who still fears rejection, who still wants to feel safe to be imperfect. When you become the mirror that reflects that hidden self, without judgment, without trying to fix him, you activate the vulnerability mirror. And that's when something incredible happens. He begins to trust you emotionally. He feels that rare sense of peace that says, I can just be myself around her. And once a man feels emotionally safe with a woman, he doesn't just like her, he becomes addicted to that feeling. Because safety is the most intoxicating emotion a man rarely finds. It could be as simple as saying, you don't always have to be strong around me, or it's okay if you're not okay today. It's about the subtle softness in your tone, when he opens up, or the silence you hold without rushing to give advice. Those moments make him feel seen. Most women make the mistake of trying to impress men with confidence, independence, and control. And while those traits are powerful, they don't create emotional imprinting. Emotional addiction is born in the space where his soul feels mirrored by yours. Imagine this: he's venting about work, his frustrations, or something from his past, and instead of analyzing or fixing it, you simply say, that sounds really hard. I can tell that meant a lot to you. That small moment of empathy anchors his emotions to you. You become the emotional mirror he's unconsciously been searching for. And here's the secret most people miss. Vulnerability is contagious. When you show yours, in measured, authentic ways, it gives him permission to show his. It tells him it's safe to feel, safe to express, and safe to connect. The vulnerability mirror isn't about strategy. It's about energy. It's about being rather than doing. When you embody warmth, emotional safety, and gentle presence, you speak directly to his subconscious, the part of him that's been starving for real connection. So when he starts to open up, don't rush, don't fill the silence, let him sit in that safety with you. Because in that stillness, something powerful is happening. He's falling for the feeling of being emotionally home. And once he feels that, he'll keep coming back, not because he has to, but because with you he finally feels free. Validation. It's one of the most powerful emotional currencies in human connection. And for men, it's the one thing they rarely receive, yet secretly crave the most. The validation loop is the emotional mechanism that makes a man feel seen, respected, and valued for who he is, not just what he does. You see, most men spend their lives chasing validation through achievement. The job title, the success, the car, the recognition. But deep down, what he really wants is for someone to notice him, not his performance, not his effort, but his essence. When you give a man that kind of validation, it bypasses his ego and speaks directly to his heart. The validation loop works when you create a space where he feels admired without expectation. For example, when you tell him, "I love how you handle things calmly when others would panic," or "I really appreciate how you think things through before making decisions," you're doing more than complimenting him. You're affirming his identity. You're saying, "I see you, I get you." And when that happens, a feedback loop begins. The more he feels seen, the more he opens up. The more he opens up, the more connected he feels to you. And the deeper that connection grows, the more emotionally invested he becomes. That's the validation loop. It's not manipulation, it's emotional chemistry at its most primal. But here's the key, it must be authentic. Men can sense false flattery. The magic isn't in the words you say, but in the energy behind them. When your validation comes from genuine admiration, it carries weight. It hits differently. You might notice subtle changes. He starts sharing more of his thoughts, seeking your opinion before making decisions, or simply being more present around you. That's because he's associating your presence with emotional safety and recognition. It's not just that you like him, it's that you understand him. And that feeling is rare. Most men move through relationships constantly evaluated by partners, by society, even by themselves. When you remove that performance pressure and replace it with appreciation, you become a sanctuary. He starts coming to you for that emotional oxygen, the validation that fuels his confidence and sense of belonging. But here's the beautiful paradox. When you validate him from a place of inner confidence, not neediness, he starts wanting to validate you back. The energy becomes reciprocal. He starts to pour into you, to cherish you, because you made him feel like a man in the purest, most human way. So the next time you're with him, notice what makes him unique, his mindset, his resilience, his humor, his quiet strength, and speak to that. Don't overdo it, just be sincere, specific, and present. Because when a man feels genuinely validated, he doesn't just fall in love, he anchors his identity around the person who gave him that feeling. And that's what makes him come back again and again, not out of habit, but out of deep emotional addiction. Every man carries something he doesn't talk about. A memory, a disappointment, a scar from love, childhood, or failure. It's the hidden bruise beneath his confidence. The wound he's learned to hide behind smiles and distractions. The emotional scar trigger is about gently touching that space, not to reopen it, but to heal it. Most people avoid vulnerability because pain feels unsafe. But the truth is, pain is where emotional bonding begins. When you connect with a man at the level of his scars, when you make him feel understood in the places he thought no one could understand, that's when he feels something stronger than attraction. He feels recognition. The emotional scar trigger works through empathy, not sympathy. Sympathy says, "I feel sorry for you." Empathy says, "I've felt something like that too, and I get it." That subtle shift is what creates emotional chemistry that words can't describe. You don't have to pry or ask direct questions. The magic is in how you listen. When he hints at something painful, an ex who betrayed him, a dream that didn't work out, a family situation he avoids, pause, look at him with genuine softness, and say something simple like, "That must have been hard," or "I can tell that still affects you." Those words open a door he's kept locked for years. And when he walks through that door, don't rush to fix or analyze, just be there. Because in that moment, you're not just another person hearing his story, you become the person who witnesses it. You hold space for the part of him that feels broken, and that is where emotional addiction begins. Here's why this works so powerfully. When someone allows us to show our scars and doesn't judge or pity us, our brain associates that person with emotional safety and relief. For a man, that's intoxicating, because he's been trained to suppress emotion. That kind of acceptance hits him like oxygen after being underwater. He starts to feel drawn to you, not for your beauty or your words, but for how he feels in your presence. You represent release, freedom, the end of emotional loneliness. But remember, this button only works when it's real. If you fake empathy, he'll sense it instantly. Authentic compassion can't be imitated. It has to come from your own healed heart. You don't have to share your scars, but when you understand your own emotional landscape, you naturally create the space for his. When you touch his emotional scar with kindness, you awaken his desire to protect you, to connect with you, and to open up in ways he's never allowed himself to before. It's not about fixing him, it's about seeing him. And once a man feels that level of emotional recognition, he doesn't just remember you, he feels you in his memories, in his quiet moments, in every space where he once felt alone. That's the power of the emotional scar trigger. It turns pain into intimacy and vulnerability into connection he'll never forget. There's a moment, rare and almost indescribable, when two people meet and something deeper than logic pulls them together. It's not lust, it's not infatuation. It's that silent, magnetic knowing that your souls are speaking the same language. That's what I call the soul connection effect. The final and most powerful emotional button that makes a man truly addicted to you. While physical attraction gets his attention and emotional chemistry keeps him interested, the soul connection makes him stay. It's the invisible thread that ties his emotions, his thoughts, and his energy to you, even when you're not around. It's what makes him think of you at random moments, dream of you, and feel restless when he hasn't heard your voice. The secret behind this connection lies in energetic alignment. It's not about saying the right things. It's about embodying the kind of emotional energy that resonates with his truth. A man feels this connection when he senses that you see his soul, not just his persona. You're not trying to change him, fix him, or impress him. You simply accept him, all of him, the light, the darkness, and everything in between. That's when he feels something he can't explain. He feels home. The soul connection effect begins when you stop trying to win love and instead become love. Your presence becomes calm, grounded, radiant. You speak from authenticity. You listen with your whole being. You smile not to be liked, but because you're aligned with your truth. That energy is magnetic, and men can feel it. Most women try to connect through control, saying what they think he wants to hear, mirroring his interests, trying to maintain his attention. But true soul connection doesn't come from chasing. It comes from being. It's when your energy says, I don't need you to complete me, but I see you, and I choose you. That message penetrates deeper than any compliment or strategy. It reaches his subconscious, the part of him that's been yearning for genuine connection, but doesn't know how to find it. When he feels that resonance with you, he'll start sharing his dreams, his fears, his thoughts about the future, not because you asked, but because he feels drawn to bring his soul closer to yours. This is where timing and authenticity matter most. You can't force a soul connection, but you can create the space for it to unfold. It's in the moments of shared silence, the laughter that feels effortless, the eye contact that lasts a little too long. It's when your energies align in a way that both of you feel something familiar, almost eternal. One of the most powerful ways to deepen this connection is through emotional presence. When you're fully in the moment, not distracted by what comes next, not judging or overanalyzing, your energy becomes magnetic. You make him feel seen without being observed. That's when his walls start to melt. He begins to crave your presence, not because you demand it, but because his soul finds rest when you're near. It's like emotional gravity. No matter how far he drifts, something keeps pulling him back. And here's the real magic: when you connect at this level, you're no longer just a part of his story. You become part of his spirit's memory. Even if life takes you apart, he'll always remember the feeling of being with you. The warmth, the calm, the spark. It becomes imprinted in his emotional DNA. That's what true emotional addiction looks like. Not obsession born of fear or control, but connection born of soul recognition. When he feels that with you, no one else can replicate it. So as you move forward, remember this: love isn't about chasing or convincing. It's about aligning with your own truth so deeply that the right man can feel you, even in your silence. That's the soul connection effect. And when it's real, it's unbreakable. Now that you know the 4 psychological buttons that make a man emotionally addicted to you: vulnerability, validation, emotional healing, and soul connection, the real question is, how do you use them authentically? Because without authenticity, even the most powerful tools lose their magic. Here's the truth. These buttons aren't about manipulation. They're about connection through consciousness. It's not about pretending to be someone else. It's about showing up as the most aligned, emotionally aware version of yourself. When you use these principles with integrity, you're not making a man fall for you. You're creating the emotional environment where love naturally grows. Authenticity begins with self-awareness. Before you can mirror vulnerability in a man, you have to make peace with your own. Ask yourself, am I open to being seen as I am? Because if you wear emotional armor, you'll only attract men who do the same. The more you embrace your truth, your fears, your softness, your emotional depth, the more magnetic your energy becomes. Real connection starts when you no longer fear transparency. When it comes to validation, the key is intention. Don't validate to gain approval. Validate to appreciate. Let your admiration come from genuine recognition, not strategy. When you tell him you respect how he handles challenges, mean it. When you say you appreciate his thoughtfulness, feel it. Energy never lies. Men can sense when praise is rooted in manipulation versus when it's born from admiration. The latter creates devotion. Using the emotional scar trigger authentically means holding compassion without losing boundaries. You're not his therapist, and you're not responsible for fixing his wounds. Your role is to witness, not to rescue. Authentic love gives space for healing. It doesn't force it. So when he opens up, listen with empathy, but also hold your own center. Remember, the strongest connection happens between two whole people, not two broken halves. The soul connection effect, when done authentically, requires presence. You can't fake soulful energy. It's something you become when you're deeply grounded in who you are. That means not performing, not controlling outcomes, not trying to prove your worth. You simply exist in your truth. And that truth, that calm confidence, speaks louder than any word you could say. The moment you stop needing to be chosen, you become unforgettable. Because authenticity is magnetic. When your energy says, I'm not here to impress, I'm here to connect, it relaxes him. It makes him trust you, open up, and mirror your emotional honesty. Now there's something powerful that happens when you integrate all these buttons naturally. You begin to shift from doing to being. You don't need to remember tactics or steps. You just embody them. Vulnerability becomes your language. Validation becomes your habit. Compassion becomes your default. And your energy becomes the kind that feels safe, which for a man is the rarest and most addictive feeling in the world. But the most important part of using these buttons authentically is patience. Emotional imprinting doesn't happen overnight. It's built through consistency, emotional attunement, and sincerity. Don't rush the process. Let connection unfold at its natural pace. When you lead with authenticity, you won't just attract love, you'll attract aligned love. The kind that nourishes both of you. So use these buttons not as tools to control, but as invitations. Invitations to deeper intimacy, truth, and emotional alignment. Because when you love with authenticity, you don't just awaken a man's heart, you awaken his soul. And that's the beauty of emotional mastery. Not about getting someone to fall for you, but about creating a connection so real, it never needs to be forced. Because when it's authentic, it lasts. So here we are. The final moments. You've just discovered the 4 psychological buttons that make any man emotionally addicted to you: vulnerability, validation, emotional healing, and soul connection. But before you walk away with all this knowledge, I want you to take a deep breath and really feel something important. These aren't just tools to make someone love you. They're mirrors. Mirrors that show you how you connect, how you love, and how you let yourself be loved. The truth is, emotional power doesn't come from knowing how to control someone else's heart. It comes from learning how to lead with your own. You see, the kind of energy that draws a man in and keeps him addicted isn't about perfection or performance. It's about presence. It's about showing up in your truth, even when it's messy, even when you're unsure, even when your heart is still healing. Because the most magnetic women aren't the ones who always have it together. They're the ones who are real. They're grounded in their emotions. They understand how to communicate from a place of softness and strength. And that combination, that emotional confidence, is what makes a man not only desire you, but respect you, cherish you, and commit to you. Here's something most people never talk about. When you start using these emotional principles, your energy changes. You stop chasing attention, and you start attracting devotion. You stop over-explaining yourself, and instead your silence begins to speak volumes. You stop settling for surface-level connection, because your soul knows it was made for more. Now, let me leave you with a few bonus tips, not strategies, but shifts in mindset that will help you embody everything we've talked about. First, embrace stillness. The world moves fast. relationships move even faster. But emotional attraction grows in the quiet moments, in the pause before you speak, in the space between messages, in the silence after laughter. Stillness is where connection breathes. Second, lead with curiosity, not control. Instead of asking, "Does he like me?" start asking, "Do I feel emotionally safe with him?" This single shift takes your power back. It aligns you with authenticity, and men can feel that difference instantly. Third, protect your energy. When you pour into someone from an empty cup, connection turns into dependency. But when your energy is grounded in self-worth, love becomes a choice, not a need. You become the woman whose energy feels like peace, not pressure. And finally, don't rush emotional bonding. Deep connection doesn't happen through intensity. It happens through consistency. A man becomes addicted to how you make him feel over time. Your presence, your calm, your warmth. Every moment you show up authentically reinforces that emotional imprint. Here's the truth most never realize. The power you seek in love isn't in knowing what to say or how to act. It's in mastering your emotional frequency. When your energy radiates confidence, empathy, and authenticity, the right man doesn't just notice you, he feels you. And he won't be able to replace that feeling with anyone else. So as this video comes to an end, remember this: don't use these buttons to make someone addicted to you out of fear. Use them to create a love that feels alive, a love that's reciprocal, honest, and soulful. Because real emotional power doesn't come from getting someone to stay. It comes from knowing that even if they didn't, you would still be whole. And that kind of energy, that's what makes you unforgettable.